Welcome to Uncensored Conservatism, episode 195. Today we're going to look at the final part of my series on recent mysteries. So, one of the most recent mysteries is how did the LA wildfires that took lives and caused so much damage start? But before we look at that, I need to clear something up. We've been told that this is one of the most devastating wildfires in California history. How do we know that? Civilization has been in California for about, 600 years. Before that, it was the Indians, and maybe they have some oral traditions and such, but we don't know in terms of acreage burned or whatever. It was the most devastating in history, maybe in recorded history, but not all of history. It's also devastating because of the human impact, the number of structures destroyed and lives lost. If there was no Los Angeles, would it be so devastating? Secondly, climate change had nothing to do with this whatsoever. Santa Ana winds are a yearly phenomena, as are dry periods coupled with water and forestry mismanagement in California. So the two big fires were the Eaton Fire and the Palisades Fire. The Palisades Fire started around 10:20 a.m. on the morning of January 7th. At around 6:20 p.m., the Eaton Fire started in the Altadena area on the same day. By the time it was over, there were 5 major wildfires raging in the Los Angeles area. We know how they got out of control. Strong winds blowing embers. Because there was ample dry bush, these embers started other fires. The 3 main causes of fires are first lightning, but we can discount that because there were no lightning strikes near Los Angeles. Another possibility would be electric transmission wires, while a third would be arson. Now, we know that on January 1st, a fire was put out in the Palisades area that was ignited by possibly fireworks on New Year's Eve. It is possible that it was not completely extinguished and flared up days later. Now, this occurred in a popular hiking area in the Palisades Highlands known as Skull Rock. An errant cigarette butt could have even caused the fire. As for the Eaton Fire, that destroyed Altadena, electric power lines are the suspect. In high winds, lines make contact and create sparks that may have ignited nearby trees or brush. In fact, there are now multiple lawsuits against the utility company for that fire, although officials have not determined a cause yet. We also know that at least one person was arrested for attempting to start a fire after neighbors detained the homeless dude. Whatever the reason, the level of devastation was enormous and the subject of news accounts daily. But wildfires, like earthquakes and mudslides, are a fact of California life. As humans expand housing into these areas prone to fire, there will be more stories like this. At least the Indians knew to move along and stay away. One thing we do know is that although acreage burnt by California fires was much higher in prehistoric times, climate change was not the reason. And moving on, and finally, so some crazy nutcase decided to run a vehicle down Bourbon Street in New Orleans as people celebrated the New Year's. He was identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, an American citizen from Houston, Texas. He managed to kill 14 people along the way and injure even more before the cops shot and killed him. On the back of his rented truck was a black ISIS flag, that of a terrorist organization. It is also known that he placed pipe bombs at various locations on Bourbon Street. Police found them and defused them before they could go off. So what do we know about this dude? Well, he was from Houston, Texas, and an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan. He apparently worked in real estate and was twice divorced, with one ex-wife obtaining a restraining order against him. He was raised Muslim and attended the Masjid Bilal ISGH Mosque in North Houston. General consensus is that he did not act alone and could have been a member of a larger contingent of terrorists in North America. On Facebook, he posted that he had joined ISIS in the summer of 2023. As for the mosque, they directed the faithful not to talk to the media or law enforcement and to refer everything to the local CARE chapter. That's the Council of Arab Islamic Relations. We also learned that he visited Egypt in 2023, which would be around the time he claims he joined ISIS. Egypt is the home of the Muslim Brotherhood, which basically is a front for terrorists, possibly even ISIS. Then we learned that Canadian officials are also investigating him because upon his return from Egypt, he flew into Ontario. The mystery deepens due to the arrest of a father and son, Mustafa El-Didi, and the father, Ahmed Faoud Mustafa El-Didi, who were charged with planning a terrorist attack in Toronto. The target of that attack was to be an unnamed certain community believed to be Jewish. The two were adherents of, you guessed it, ISIS. They hail from Syria, and the father was known to be involved in an ISIS aggravated assault in that country. The Canadians said they were Canadian citizens, but can't say when they arrived in Canada, which doesn't say too much about that country's immigration system. So here's the thing. You have two known ISIS operatives in Canada around the time this Dick in New Orleans arrives there on his way home to Houston from Egypt. You have the same Dick, less than 6 months later, carrying out a terrorist attack in New Orleans. What did he do, or who did he meet in Egypt or in Canada? He claimed he joined ISIS in the summer of 2023 after returning from Egypt by way of Canada. And what about that mosque in North Houston? They aren't exactly cooperative. Was this guy some homegrown terrorist, or was he part of a larger network of ISIS members or sympathizers here in the United States? I mean, terrorists are patient people who generally have learned to stay under the radar. And they're here thanks to this guy. We've let into the country millions of illegal aliens, many of them unvetted, and many from non-Hispanic countries. It's only a matter of time before we experience another attack like this. And that's it. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.